I've taken the subway almost every day for the last 5 years. Morning, evening, late nights, the same routine every single day. And routine is dangerous because it lets someone study you without you noticing. This happened in late 2021, and it's the reason I don't take the underground after dark anymore. It started with a man in a black hoodie. The first day, he stood behind me on the escalator. Didn't think much of it. The second day, same thing. Same distance, same posture. The third day, he was in the exact same place, as if he was waiting for me to arrive. He never made calls, never listened to music, never looked around, just kept his head lowered, hands in pockets, and stood behind me. He never boarded my train. He always waited until I left the platform. That's when I felt the first red flag. After a week, I decided to test something. There's a metal pillar on the platform that works like a mirror. If you stand at the right angle, you can see behind you without turning. So I looked at his reflection. He was staring straight at me, not at his phone, not at the tracks, but directly at me through the reflection. No blink, no expression, just watching. I pretended not to react, but my chest felt tight the entire ride home. The next morning, he was there again. Same place, same distance, same posture. But things escalated on a Friday night when I stayed late at work. The station was almost empty when I arrived, just flickering lights and the echo of my footsteps. I started walking through the long corridor, and that's when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, steady, deliberate. When I stopped, they stopped. When I continued, they continued. My heart dropped into my stomach. I didn't even need to look. I knew it was him. Then I heard his voice. Not loud, not aggressive, but calm, close, too close. You're going the wrong way. I froze. There was only one direction open at that hour. His words made no sense. I turned around slowly, and he was standing far down the corridor, hood up, face hidden, body perfectly still. But his voice had come from right behind me. I managed to say, "Do you need something?" He tilted his head slowly, like he was studying me, and said, "Nobody is coming to help you." I started backing away. He stepped forward. I turned and rushed toward the stairs. His footsteps followed behind me, not running, just calmly keeping up, like he already knew I wouldn't outrun him. When I reached the platform, a train arrived just in time. I got inside and sat down. As the train started moving, I looked out through the window. He was standing completely still on the platform, watching me leave, his head tracking the direction of the train, like he was memorizing the route I was taking. The next morning, I reported everything to station security. They reviewed the security footage with me, and what I saw made my blood run cold. On the CCTV screen, I was clearly visible. I was walking, stopping, looking back, but the man in the hoodie wasn't there. Not in the corridor, not on the escalator, not on the platform. The guard rewound the footage 3 times. Same result. "It's only you," he said quietly. I insisted I had seen him. He had spoken to me. The guard looked confused and asked, "Are you sure he was physically there?" I didn't know how to answer that anymore. That night, I re-watched a shaky video I recorded with my phone in the corridor. In the clip, you can hear the echo of my footsteps, and under that, a faint whisper, "You're going the wrong way." But in the video, there was no one walking behind me. No figure, no shadow, no reflection, only his voice. A week later, I was at a completely different station, across the city. Bright, crowded, safe. I was scrolling my phone, trying to calm my nerves, when suddenly a whisper hit my ear. So close I felt the warmth of breath. "You're going the wrong way." I spun around instantly. No one was behind me, no one close enough to whisper. People were just going about their day. But then I saw him. Across the tracks, in the crowd, standing perfectly still. The man in the black hoodie. He was staring straight at me, unmoving, unblinking, not breathing, as if the world around him didn't exist. Slowly, he raised his hand and pointed at me. Not at the platform, not at the direction, at me. The train arrived, doors opened, I stepped inside without looking away. As the train moved, he kept pointing until he disappeared into the tunnel darkness. I changed my route, changed my schedule, changed everything. But sometimes, late at night, in empty stations, I still hear that same whisper behind me. So close, it feels like someone is standing inches away. "You're going the wrong way." And every time I turn around, but there's never anyone there. Just echoes, just silence, just the sound of my own breathing and the feeling that he's still watching.
I used to think my life was too boring for anyone to pay attention to. Same schedule, same routine, same habits every single day. But that routine became the very thing that made me easy to follow, easy to predict, easy to stalk. This happened 2 years ago, and I still can't fully process it. The first sign was a small note left under my car's windshield wiper. It said, "You overslept today." And the scary part is, I had overslept. My alarm didn't ring, and I left home 15 minutes later than usual. Someone had noticed. Someone close enough to monitor my schedule. I tried to dismiss it as a prank, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. 2 days later, another note appeared, this time on my apartment door. It said, "Running late again. Haircut?" I had gotten a haircut that day. I wore a hat the entire time. Nobody at work saw it, and yet this stranger knew. I barely slept that night. 3 more days passed, and then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, thinking it could be work. A calm male voice said, "You shouldn't answer calls from strangers." I froze. I asked who he was. He ignored the question and said, "Your kitchen light is still on. You're wasting electricity." I turned slowly toward the blinds. The blinds were mostly closed, but a small gap exposed the kitchen. Someone was outside watching me. I hung up instantly and turned off every light. Over the next 2 weeks, small things kept changing in my home. My trash bag moved, my mailbox left open, my car door slightly unlocked, a chair near my window shifted a few inches. Nothing dramatic, but enough to prove someone was inside my space, someone who wanted me to know. Then came the worst moment. I returned home from the store one evening. As I unlocked my door, I felt something off. The lock turned too smoothly. Inside, the air felt wrong, and my bedroom door, which I always kept fully closed, was half open. There was a paper on my bed. It said, "You're early today." Someone had been inside minutes before I arrived. I called the police immediately. They found no fingerprints, no forced entry, nothing missing. They suggested maybe I forgot to lock the door, but I knew I didn't. The next day, I bought a small indoor camera and placed it in the living room. That night, when I returned from a short walk, I reviewed the footage. At 7:46 p.m., the living room door opened slightly. A pale hand slid into the frame. Thin fingers, dirty nails, slow movement. The hand reached forward, then suddenly pulled back, and I heard a whisper through the camera mic. "Not tonight." The next night, things got worse. I sat in complete darkness, watching the camera feed. At 12:32 a.m., he walked into view. Full body, long coat, hood up. He walked straight to my door and slowly turned the doorknob. I heard the clicking sound from my side. My whole body tensed up. Then he leaned forward and whispered through the gap between the door and frame, "You shouldn't be awake at this hour." He stayed there for an entire minute, listening, testing, waiting. Then he walked away like he had all the time in the world. I moved out the next morning and left everything behind. I changed my number, my job, my city. I thought I had escaped him. But last week, I opened my new mailbox and found a note. Plain white paper, same handwriting, same ink, same message as the very first one. It said, "You overslept today." He didn't lose me. He followed me. And now he knows where I live again.
I used to think paranoia was just something anxious people felt, but now I know there's a difference between imagination and someone actually watching you. This happened last year, and even now my skin crawls thinking about it. Back then, I lived in a small city apartment. Not a great area, but close to work and cheap. My routine was always the same. I left for work at 7:40 a.m., caught the bus at 8, reached the office by 8:30, and came home around 6:15. Predictable, reliable. And that predictability is what made me a target. The first time I saw him, I assumed he was just another commuter. A tall man in a blue jacket, standing near the bus stop, hands in his pockets, perfectly still. Nothing unusual except he wasn't facing the street. He was staring at the buildings instead, motionless, not blinking. When the bus arrived, he didn't react. He didn't look at it. He didn't move. He just stood there. 3 days later, I saw him again. Same jacket, same posture, same spot. But this time, he was staring directly at me. I tried not to look at him, but when I stepped onto the bus, I glanced back. He slowly turned his head and kept staring right at me. No emotion, no expression, just eyes locked on mine. On the 5th day, something changed. When the bus arrived, he stepped closer. Not enough to get on, just enough to look inside through the door, straight at me. He didn't board. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. He just watched as the bus drove away, tracking it with his head. 2 days later, it was raining heavily. The streets were almost empty, just the sound of water hitting the pavement. I was walking toward the bus stop, umbrella overhead, when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, steady, measured footsteps. I turned around, and there he was, the man in the blue jacket, walking behind me, matching my pace. I crossed the street. He crossed the street. I sped up. He sped up. I stopped, and he stopped. We stood there, staring at each other through the rain. His jacket was soaked, his hands still in his pockets, his eyes wide, unblinking. After several seconds, he finally looked down, turned around, and walked away. No rush, no fear, just calm, deliberate steps. 2 days later, I came home late. It was after 10 p.m., and the street was quiet. As I turned the corner toward my building, I froze. He was standing outside my apartment entrance, facing the door, not moving, not looking around, just standing there like he was waiting for me to open it. I ducked behind a parked car and watched him from the shadows. He stayed completely still for almost 15 minutes. Then he slowly turned his head and stared directly at me, as if he knew exactly where I was hiding. I backed away and left. I didn't go home that night. Around 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed with a notification. Motion detected at your door. My heart dropped. I opened the security camera feed, and there he was, standing inches from my door, face almost pressed against the camera, eyes wide, unblinking. He leaned closer and whispered, "You're home late." The audio was faint but unmistakable. The police came, watched the footage, but said they couldn't do anything. He hadn't broken in. He hadn't hurt me. He had just watched. They told me, "If you see him again, don't approach him. Go somewhere public." A week passed. No sign of him. Then, one night at 3 a.m., I got another alert. I opened the live feed and nearly stopped breathing. He was back. But this time, he wasn't looking at the camera. He was listening, ear pressed against my door, head tilted, trying to hear my breathing inside the apartment. I covered my mouth, not to make a sound. Then, slowly, he turned his head toward the camera and smiled, a slow, controlled, unnatural smile, then whispered, "You're awake." I left the next morning, packed everything, moved out. 8 months passed. I tried to forget, but 2 nights ago, I got another notification. New login detected on your security account. Someone accessed my old cameras. I opened the archived footage, and my stomach dropped. The man in the blue jacket was walking down the hallway of my old apartment. Slow, steady steps. He stopped at my old door, looked directly into the camera, and even though there was no audio, his lips moved clearly. "Found you."